Sweet.
If you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running? Choose a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building, tools, and features, including simple drag and drop page design. And they have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you'll receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's pair.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART to get started today. Hello and welcome to our 4th NFL Recap Show. I am, of course, Nick Rodriguez, and I am joined by my co-host, Charles Hagan. Today, we are going over each wildcard game, playing the 3-word game. We will also preview our favorite matchups heading into the Divisional Round and discuss which players ghosted us. But before we get started, I wanted to announce some very exciting news that we teased on our Twitter account earlier, is that this show will officially be a weekly show throughout the remainder of the playoffs. So join us every Tuesday about 6:15, 6:30. We had a little bit of technical difficulties running into today, but that's our exciting announcement. You'll be seeing us all the way through the Super Bowl. But Charles, welcome to the show, and pretty exciting news, right?
Nick, I appreciate it, brother. And yeah, man, there's just too much to talk about every 2 weeks. So I think it'd be easier if we had that 20, 25-minute sessions weekly throughout the rest of the time while we have and can concentrate on more topics. So it makes a lot of sense for us. I'm excited we're doing it weekly.
Absolutely. So much to discuss in this wild card weekend. Like you said, there was too much time to go by without, if you're going for 2 weeks just to talk about it. So you came up with a segment of Ghosts of the Week. Who ghosted us this week? Who's your Ghost of the Week?
Yeah, so Ghost of the Week is just someone who didn't show up, right? So someone that, is the biggest surprise who didn't show up, like you got ghosted in real life. So mine was Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the first half MVP, and we discussed that in our show early on, halfway through the year, and he was fantastic. And I think the issue was that he has not had a lot of experience, but he also was relying so much on DeAndre Hopkins before. But this is something we've seen last few games that it's kind of like when you have a bad situation, but there's a few really good things that outshine that and you forget about it. It was kind of like early in the year, we're talking about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's playing so well that you forget that the Ravens actually aren't a very good team this year. Kind of same thing with Kyler having great plays, and it's kind of disguising the rest of his play. So Kyler had 2 interceptions, only threw for 137 yards, 55% pass completions. I mean, I feel like he let the team down because that's who they rely on in that game. Threw a pick 6 on his own goal line when he should have just thrown away, taking the safety. Yeah. But he's who didn't show up for me this week.
Yeah, for me, I guess I kind of in the same category as far as ghost of the week, because I'm going with the New England Patriots. If you listen to last week's episode, I had the Patriots beating the Buffalo Bills. Thought the game would at least be close and competitive. I know we talked about kind of the score breakdowns and how we thought Buffalo, New England would be really low scoring, maybe upper teens, lower 20s. Well, that was true for one team. The Patriots got upper teens and finishing with 17 points. But, man, what a display. Buffalo and Josh Allen completely dismantling New England, something that not only do you not see that often against the Bill Belichick New England team, but especially in the playoffs. So hats off. I think that just goes to show how good of a coaching staff that is in Buffalo and how dangerous Josh Allen is.
Yeah, and these are two teams that just don't like each other in their
No.
rivalry, and they split the series this year, and in that one really cold game, which with some crazy weather, Patriots only threw the ball 3 times. Bills game plan for that this time, another bad weather game, and just Mac Jones and the Patriots did not show up, and hard to blame a rookie quarterback. Shows a lot of promise for the future.
Absolutely. Let's get to our 3-word game. Pretty self-explanatory, where we wanted to go through each game, but we know going through each game can be, it could take a lot to go through a deep dive. So we thought we made it fun. We split up the games, and we go 3 words to describe each game. So I will go first here, as I usually let Charles go first, but I'm going to go first this time. And I've got Cincinnati versus the Raiders. Great game, back and forth. Raiders really come back at the end, and they throw that interception. But mine is walk the line. Right at the end of the first half there, Joe Burrow throws that touchdown where he's out of bounds, walking the line right there. I think they did blow the whistle, but doesn't matter. Joe Cool gets it done and gets the touchdown. And I think that's the key there. It's just Joe Burrow is cool under pressure, doesn't matter, and we're able to get it done. And that play was just very weird because it looked like some of the Raiders players kind of stopped, because they heard the blown whistle. It ended up counting as a touchdown, obviously being huge since the Raiders ended up losing by a touchdown. So walk the line, and the Bengals advance, and we'll see them play Tennessee next week.
Absolutely. No, and that's going to be a really good game next week that we're talking about as well. Bengals look like they have a lot of promise, and a lot of people are riding high on them right now.
Absolutely. Who is your game, and what is your phrase?
Yeah, so following forward, the 3-word game, I've got Patriots Bills, and my phrase for that is Allen is elite. We saw that Josh Allen in that snow game last time was still making spectacular throws, and it's just a game that he just wanted to have back. This man threw for 5 touchdowns, had a 98.5 QBR, and completed 84% of his passes. I mean, he put his team on his back, shows why he's a certifiable top 5 quarterback, and they're going to be very dangerous in this playoffs, despite having to play the Chiefs next round. I think that this might be a revenge game coming up for the Bills. I think this is a Bills team that last year, they went 13-3, 12-4, I forget what they had, but really was really high on everybody and did not hit expectations, losing in the AFC Championship game. I think Josh Allen is coming with vengeance this year.
And did you see that he threw more touchdowns than incompletions? 5 touchdowns to 4 incompletions. Another video game day for Josh Allen against a good New England Patriots team.
Unbelievable, man. I mean, he was fantastic. How about you? What's your next game?
My next game is – I didn't have a good week as far as picks go. It felt like every blowout, I was on the wrong side. I mean, I picked the Cardinals to beat the Rams. That didn't work out. I picked the Cowboys to beat the 49ers. Not a blowout, but the 49ers controlled that game. We'll get into the Bucs Eagles. We both swung and missed on that one as well. But this one is about the Cowboys and the 49ers. Mike's gone, bro. He's gone. He's got to be gone. He just looks like someone who he looks confused. Like he looks like he just woke up in a dream and he's just standing there and doesn't know how he ended up on the Dallas sideline. I don't know how he got there either, but and my dad's a big Cowboys fan, and what I tell my dad is, and he agrees, is like they play with their hair on fire when they're absolutely desperate. That's when they started doing all these crazy plays against San Francisco. I'm like, why don't you do that from the beginning of the game, right, so you don't have to play from behind and do all these crazy plays? And then of course you have the infamous running it with 14 seconds left up the middle instead of going out of bounds or any sort of play. I recommend people watching Dan Orlovsky's breakdown of that. It's phenomenal. He really does a great job. I know you, Charles, we forget, or you don't forget, but we don't talk about it enough that you played at the college level. So you have a higher level of the in-games as more than I would. But Dak Prescott is supposed to be an elite NFL quarterback. You have to know those things going into the huddle more than obviously the average fan. Doesn't get it done. I think, obviously you're not going to move on from Dak. He just costs too much. But Mike's gone, bro. They just looked completely outclassed in that game. And Dallas is a team, loaded wise, has one of the best rosters in the NFC and the NFL, and just not getting it done. So to me, he's got to go.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about the Cowboys, and you hit on the most important point right there, is that I found that it was unbelievable that Dak and different members of the team were supporting the players throwing trash at the referees after the game. And Dak said, as they should have, in which it's a circumstance in which Dak made the mistake. You have to know that you cannot run up the middle of the field with there's less than 15 seconds and no timeouts in the game. That is completely on Dak Prescott. And I actually really like Dak as a guy. I think he's a great person. And I was shocked. It was very uncharacteristic of him to blame the refs on that in a game that he cost his own team. So I'm going to move on to Eagles Bucs. You were so kind to give me the Eagles Bucs game for the 3 words. But I'm going to go with not enough experience. You're going against the youngest Eagles quarterback in playoff history to start a game at 23 years old, and Jalen Hurts. He's played in a lot of big moments, but you're playing against the GOAT, who is quite literally twice his age, who has played as many NFL seasons that Jalen Hurts has been alive. So I think that this was just a difficult matchup. I think the Eagles made a lot of strides, as I said last time, that they're playing with house money, that, the rest of the season is just gravy. Glad they fought at the end, but there's just not enough experience. They've got a pretty young team, Devontae Smith being that number 1 receiver. Talk about getting him a veteran, maybe down the line, maybe this offseason. But there's a lot of guys who were playing in their first playoff game or their first, real playoff game. And I think it was just a difficult matchup against Tom Brady. So that's what I'll say, not enough experience on that. But I know that you've got a really interesting game in the Cardinals-Rams, which you saw last night. So what are your 3 words on that?
Money well spent, baby. I was with some friends watching the game, as I'm sure a lot of people were. It's like an all-star team over there. I mean, you got Odell, you've got Von Miller on that team, you got Jalen Ramsey on that team. Stafford came via a trade. It's a freaking all-star team over there. So money well spent, indeed. I mean, you see Odell, monster numbers. He's completely crushing it, showing his impact in Cleveland with a guy named Baker Mayfield, and with the Rams with guys named Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, who are pretty good at their day job. So money was well spent because you see all the studs seem to be making a big plays. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Ramsey. Odell had a monster day, and like you were talking about with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, they just looked completely outclassed, outmanned, couldn't do anything. That Kyler interception was terrible. He's falling down and he tries to throw it up. They actually showed something about Stafford doing that in the pregame show. So I think to spin it on the Cardinals plus side, similar for the Eagles, I think getting your butt kicked can be a good thing in the playoffs, wake you up a little bit. I think Kingsbury could be on the hot seat going into next season if they flame out again, because you don't want to waste – Kyler is the real deal. He's really good. You don't want to waste any of those years or anything like that. But if you're the Eagles, if you're the Cardinals, you don't want to get crushed in the playoffs, but it's a win. And I know both of those franchises are very happy with those quarterbacks. So money well spent, though, on the Rams, though. Their stars showed up, and that's how they're going to win ball games for sure.
Rams played like they should have, like people thought preseason expectations and those acquisitions they made. So if they didn't play like this, I would have been surprised. So I'm glad that it worked out the way that it did for them. They made a lot of investments. But we'll move on to the very last one. I got the Steelers-Chiefs game, and I think this might be surprising for some people because it's not the obvious one. But I'm going to say Chiefs are vulnerable. So we watched this game. And Ben Roethlisberger talked throughout the week saying, we are not a very good team, but we're going to go out there. We made the playoff. I couldn't believe he said it, but he literally did. And he said, we made the playoffs, and we're just going to do our best and, try to give them a game. And the Steelers were the 14th out of the 14 teams in the playoffs, if you had to rank them all power rank-wise.
They're 15 out of 14.
Yeah, they might be 15 out of 14. It was just a game where you knew the Chiefs were going to win. And it's a game that I saw a lot of holes in the Chiefs. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Steelers were a good enough team to exploit those holes that they had. But a team like the Bills, who just absolutely destroyed the Patriots, a very a sound team, I think that the Chiefs are vulnerable to an upset right here. I think Bills are looking
Yeah.
for a revenge game, and that's going to be one team I'm betting on to beat the Chiefs next week. I think it's going to be the Bills.
Well, we'll get into our game picks here. I think that would be, it's funny. Like last week, we had felt like 50 games to go through as far as breakdown and picks. But as you get further and further in, you can spend a little bit more time on each game. So we'll get into our picks in just a second. But to hit on your points with the Chiefs, we were texting back and forth, and I'm glad you were nice enough for me to take that bet, because I was bullish. I guess the new rule is if I ever say or take a bet, you should absolutely do the opposite, because I'm like on a cold streak over here, because I thought Pittsburgh would play it close, and they did. TJ Watt scores that first touchdown, and I was like, oh, here we go. Not a Big Ben fan, to see him go forward. That wasn't really the rooting reason, but seeing TJ Watt, seeing him play close, and you're right. That's a team. If you go, okay, the Chiefs or the Bills are going to blow out a team this week, you would go, oh, the Chiefs are going to blow them out. But the more impressive win was the Bills beating a Patriots team, which a lot of people were upsetting to beat the Bills. I wasn't the only one. And, of course, you have Billy B on that sideline. So I don't know. There could be some cracks in the armor. And as we've talked about a million times, this Chiefs team isn't as polished as they were the last couple of years. So I don't know. It could be the Bills' year to upset the Chiefs.
Yeah, we'll see, man. They've been a vulnerable team since the start. We were both high on them, being the Chiefs that they were. But I think the Bills I think playoffs are all about momentum, and I see a lot of momentum in the Bills' favor.
Well, do you want to go ahead and dive into our divisional picks here?
Sure thing, man. Let's get it rolling.
All right, let's go ahead and let's start with the Saturday afternoon game, Bengals versus Titans. Do we know if King Henry is going to be coming back yet? Is that
so? He will be playing. Yep.
Wow. Okay, so King Henry will be back. Got the Titans. What you said about momentum, I think rings true. I think Tennessee is going to play a great game in Nashville, of course, because they're the number one seed. But I always think it's scary for that number one team. And we'll get into my Packers in just a second here and how nervous I am for that game going against Nick Bosa. But I'm going to go a little different here, and I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I'm going to roll with Joe Cool, Joe Burrow, and Jamar. Just doesn't seem like they're – and I know it's going to be a fist fight the whole time with the Titans. But I think that rest is going to – or playing is going to benefit the Bengals more in that close win. And you got Joe Burrow behind center. So I'm going to take the Bengals in an upset. Give me 23-20 over the Titans.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that pick, especially because we've been high on the Bengals. We've been talking about this time and time again.
We have been high on the Bengals.
I think they look fantastic, and I chose them to beat the Raiders last week for a reason. I thought that they're clearly going to win that game. I think with the Titans that they're probably the most overlooked number one seed, probably since the 2017-18 Eagles is what I think about, because no one was giving the Eagles a shot once Winston went down. And I think it's kind of the same thing about Titans with Henry, except they get this guy back. And I know he hasn't played in 10 weeks, so who knows what's going to happen, but he's going to at least get 20, 25 carries. Tannehill's been playing really well, and they've been finding a way to win without him. So I think Titans are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. I see like a 30-27 type matchup. I think a lot of time is going to be eaten by Derrick Henry. I think he's going to play well, and I think he's going to look good.
Moving on to, which could be the game of the weekend, although Rams-Bucs is very intriguing. Bills-Chiefs is also very intriguing. But San Francisco traveling to Lambeau Field. Obviously, we've talked about this before. I'm a Packers fan, so I know I've seen a lot of people talk about, well, they can really rewrite history here. They can beat San Francisco in the divisional round, and they can beat the Bucs in the NFC Championship game, and they can go on to win the Super Bowl. That's great. I would obviously love to see that. I think the Packers do pull this one out. I am a little nervous about Nick Bosa. I saw that he was in concussion protocol at this point. Yeah. I have a feeling that he'll play in the divisional round. I know Packers and 49ers, they don't like each other at all. I think we do get it done. Just another gut feeling on this one. Bakhtiari coming back for the Packers is huge. I know another offensive lineman came back, and I hope Jair Alexander can also come back at the cornerback position for the Packers. But ultimately, when I think my betting is when it's this close between two teams, I look at the quarterback, and when I look at Aaron Rodgers and I look at Jimmy G, I'm going Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's gonna be tight. It was tight earlier this season, but I got the Packers just getting over the hump, 30-27, another field goal game.
I think if Nick Bosa and Fred Warner don't play, which there's a chance because they're both in injury protocols.
That's
I
right.
don't think it's close. I think Packers near blow them out. I think
agree.
double-digit win. I think even if they do play, though, even though it's going to be exciting, I think it's going to be one of those situations in which Aaron Rodgers gets the ball with too much time on the clock, meaning anywhere from 40 seconds to, a minute 40. So I think the Packers will win in a one-score game.
Yeah, and we could see it where it's that situation we're talking about where it's 30-23, but Rodgers has it and he goes to link to the field and they win by 10 or something like that. But I think it's going to be tight. I'm a big believer in Shanahan. I just obviously believe in LaFleur and Rodgers, and I think they get it done. But it's going to be a good one. It's probably one of the games I'm most excited for. But we've got two more games here. We've got Rams, Bucs, Bills, Chiefs. Which one would you like to tackle first, Rams, Bucs, or Bills, Chiefs?
Yeah, let's get right into the Rams Bucs. I think that this is a game that we just saw both of these teams coming off of very convincing wins. And a Bucs team that's most likely getting a few guys back from injury. I don't know if Leonard Fournette's going to play this week or Ronald Jones, but I know that they might. And maybe another defensive player that was off on. My only concern for the Bucs would be their offensive line injuries.
Yes.
So that's going to be a big one. But Rams are going to be full health, especially getting Cam Akers back as well. I think that this is going to be a defining game for Matt Stafford. I mean, this game doesn't matter for Tom Brady in terms of legacy, but I think for Matt Stafford, I think that this might be the best team he's ever played with, definitely, but maybe going forward as well in LA. I think that the Rams are narrowly going to win this one. I think it's going to be Tom Brady gets an opportunity to win this game at the end of the game. And I don't think it happens for him. So I think it's a 2 or 3 point win by the Rams.
It's going to be a great game. And this is almost like another all-star game because and what you said actually before is key. It's the injuries. Yeah. Tristan Wirfs went out. I know they had another I think Jensen, the redhead guy, he was in and out against your Eagles the other day. That's going to be huge, especially when you're going against guys like Von Miller and Aaron Donald. To me, the key is whose stars are going to show up, who's going to be healthier, like you're saying, Fournette, if he's there, how healthy is he going to be, how productive is he going to be? We know what Tom and Gronk are going to do, but I'm with you on this one. I'm actually going to go with Rams in a little upset here as well. I just think when you're going up against a team like the Rams and that defensive line, Aaron Donald, I mean, we saw what the Eagles were doing as soon as Wirfs and Jensen went out of the game. They were throwing dudes around. And those – I'm not sure which guy that was, but I mean, Aaron Donald's. I mean, they need to be in, and even if they're in, I don't know how healthy they're going to be. So I think that's huge. I think Stafford does play well, and I think they do defeat the Bucs. So but it's going to be a great game in Tampa, one of our few warm weather games this weekend.
Yeah, to your point, it was Ryan Kerrigan that had 2 sacks when Tristan Wirfs went out, and Ryan Kerrigan only recorded a singular tackle on the entire regular season this year, by the way. He was the backup to Josh Sweat, who actually did not play because of an emergency circumstance, so prayers up for him. Hope he's doing okay. Yep. But just thinking about a backup who only recorded a singular tackle, like Ryan Kerrigan's very good, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been playing all year, got 2 sacks in the game, Wirfs went out.
Our last game is billed as the revenge game. Of course, we know Stephon Diggs took that classic picture looking at the AFC Championship game. What a cool picture that is, seeing them celebrate and go on to the Super Bowl. Bills versus the Chiefs. Who you got and why?
You know what? I think that I strongly alluded to this earlier and gave a lot of my reasonings, but I think Bills get it done here. I think Chiefs are vulnerable and they have holes, and I think that they're going to be exploited. And I think that this is a game that Sean McDermott was hoping that he was going to have in the postseason this year. And I think a coach who's like really good, like Sean McDermott, who's defensive-minded guy, he is better prepared to play Patrick Mahomes now more than ever, just in terms of scheme. And I think Josh Allen is going to play one of his best games of the year. And I think Stephon Diggs is like, if you're looking at prop bets for Stephon Diggs, I would probably set those in, because I think that he's going to have 8+ catches, 100 yards, touchdown type of day.
I'm going with Buffalo too. I think it's everything that you said, and it's also at some point, we know Josh Allen is a superhero, super athlete, freak show, but at some point, he's going to take over. He's going to beat Mahomes at some point. He's going to beat him in the playoffs. I think it's his year. He has been playing so good the last couple months. I mean, the whole year. I mean, he's been very good. He's so scary. And Mahomes and the Chiefs, they just haven't been getting a phone call, haven't been perfect or as dominant as they have been the last few years, where it's, I mean, when they went to the Super Bowl and they ended up being the 49ers, they trailed in every game, but there was no doubt after they came back against Houston that they were going to come back and win those games, which is scary. Yep. I just don't think they're that team this year. And I'm a little scared now that we both picked Buffalo, and we both picked the Bucs to lose. So that means it's going to be the Chiefs and the Bucs are probably going to win. But yeah, that means, to recap, Hagen's got Titans versus Bills. Wow. And I've got Bengals versus Bills. Then we both have Rams versus Packers. I mean, that really excites me as far as, the championship games go. But I think it's going to be another incredible week of football.
I think with this being said, we saw, obviously the many analysts picked the Eagles to lose and the Steelers to lose last week as 7 seeds. I think every single game that's going to be played this week is going to be a battle, and these are all teams that deserve to be here. And I could see all games going other ways, but these are just our takes on them.
What game excites you the most? Is it the 49ers Bucs? Is it Bills Chiefs, or is there another one that you're sleeping on that you're really excited for?
For me, it's Bengals Titans, because I'm really excited to see what Joe Burrow can do with all this hype momentum going on. But most importantly, I feel like I haven't seen Titans play in weeks. Like, they've only been off 1 week, but this is a completely different team with Derrick Henry not playing. So how are they going to implement him? How big of an impact is he going to have? Is Ryan Tannehill big enough for the moment for a number 1 seed? So that'll be a lot of storylines chasing that game and seeing how it goes. Because the Bengals win this game, good luck in the championship game, and that'll be a tough one.
That'll be a tough one. It's also exciting because that's the first game of the weekend, so it's a nice little appetizer to everything else that's going to go down. But I almost went with that one. I was going to say San Francisco, Green Bay, but that felt, obvious. But I'm going with the All-Star game, Rams Bucs. That just feels like it's going to be a track meet. I know Antonio Brown's not there, but everything with that, it's LA. The Rams would host the Super Bowl if they were to win. So all those juicy storylines. Stafford finally got his first playoff win. I saw he threw he's clear number 1. He was for most touchdown passes without a playoff win until last night where he gets the dub. So I'm extremely excited for this weekend, more than I can remember in the last few years, just because it feels like if you said, okay, I can see the future and the Titans win the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay. There's not a team in there that you really can't see that happening. Even the Bengals, which you would probably put last on that list, but still, based on matchups and them being one of the hottest teams, would not be that surprised.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a great weekend.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. And please take a minute to like, comment, and share this video to help Charles and I grow the Nick Rodriguez podcast. We will see you all next week, and be sure to enjoy all the games. Thanks.